Hey, welcome to week 3 of personal finance at the University of Houston. I'm Jim Munchback, your host and your professor. And I wanted to spend a little time reviewing last week's assignment. The homework assignment in class was a basic budget. It was actually a zero-based budget, which means that in the process of telling your money where to go, you were supposed to come out with a zero. So if you had money left over after you accounted for all of your living expenses and bills, whatever you had left over, your job is to tell that money where it's going to go. So the goal of a zero-based budget is to zero it out. It's a very simple process, a very simple budget, and my expectation with your assignments wasn't that high. So I don't really care if it looks great. What I do care about is that you get the basic idea of creating a budget with good categories, one that is specific enough to see where your money should be going, and also to make sure that you're hitting all of the main categories that should be involved in any budget that illustrates or depicts the normal categories of a budget, like living expenses, rent, utilities, cable TV, internet, insurance, food. So those are the things I'm looking for. And I know many of you are either living on campus or living at home. If you're living on campus, that's pretty easy. It's an entry that would be room and board. And if you're getting a scholarship, you would show income from the scholarship, or the grant, or the parental assistance. That would all be income. All of the other things would be expense. So for example, if you're living at home and you're not actually paying rent, the instructions were to do a little research and find out what would you pay for rent if you were paying rent to your parents. And if there are 5 people living in that house, you would take the total amount that you would pay for rent if you rented that house, divide that by 5, and that would be your share. And that's what I asked you to show on the assignment. So let's take a look at a few of these examples, and in the process you'll get to see what I saw. So this one is a good example. For example, the first thing I looked for is, did we cover mortgage or rent? And in this one, I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it, but that's what I'm looking for. So I see categories. We've got gas bill, restaurants, grooming, medical, gifts, entertainment, tuition, book supplies, parking fees. So that's all good. It looks like we have here utilities, cell phone bills. So I mean, it looks fine, but there's no mortgage, no rent. So I would say I don't see any notes. Maybe I'm missing something here, but this probably would have gotten a deduction because I'm not seeing rent, which is a major item in any budget. So let's look at the next one. Here we have another budget. There's rent. That's good. My phone is ringing. Sorry about that. I will put my phone on airplane mode. I apologize. I hope that never happens again. I put it on airplane mode. So back to the review. So we should see in this example income and expenses, and then here's some unbudgeted income. Excuse me, I thought this was kind of cute. This $21.67 to spend as I wish. So that's not bad, but how are you going to spend it? I mean, this is a zero-based budget. That was the example, or the instruction. So you're supposed to zero it out. That's not a big deal, but in this case that would be a minor. Oh, here's some notes. Oh no, this is a different assignment, so I lumped these all together. So in this assignment, I appreciated the notes, I appreciated the details here, but the actual budget was just very weak. And you can see I don't see any expense for rent, and you could go over that list yourself and quickly see that it's missing a good deal of information. So here's a good one. I thought this was good. It starts out, it definitely addressed, the student addressed the basically the resources or the benefits that are coming from the parental unit. So that was the idea here, to show the expenses that you would be paying if your parents weren't giving them to you, come up with a value for those expenses, and then simply show that as an income from your parents, which is what it looks like this student did. So we've got rent. I'm looking at other categories just to see if we've covered the basic things, and it looks like this student has. So I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time looking at this. I would see that the work was done. It looks good. Oh, and there's a name on it. Sorry about that. Hope you didn't see that. But this would be, I'm pretty sure this would have gotten full points. I can't see any reason I would have made any deduction there. So here's another one. I'm going to try to eliminate the names. Sorry about that if you saw that. So this one looks pretty good, and then I get down to mortgage, rent, and there is none. So this one would have probably gotten a deduction, because it just doesn't address rent, and there are no notes to give me any indication why. So just so you know, here's another one, or maybe that's part of, that's part of that. It just shows the categories. So this is a graph. I told you in the assignment, I don't care what kind of graph you use, and you'll be doing this assignment again with your spending plan, and in those assignments as well as this assignment, it doesn't matter to me what kind of graph you use, but I would like to point out here as you look at this graph that it's a very quick, easy snapshot of the budget, and it focuses on the categories that are in the budget. So we see here, let me get rid of some of this noise. You see here, telephone is blank right now. There's nothing there. So if we go back up into the budget and we look at telephone, telephone is blank. Now I would bet that this student has a cell phone, and I would bet that this student has internet. It's possible this student lives on campus. If that's the case, then it would be helpful if it was somewhere indicated here. If it's room and board, tuition, I'm just not sure. This one isn't clear, so I definitely would have marked that down. Most likely it did get marked down. So here's another one. First thing I see is we've got rent. This was the template that I provided, so I saw a lot of these. One of the things I noticed at the bottom was, well, this one doesn't do it. Some of them had a major big number here, but this student fixed that, so great job. This student very likely would have received full credit for this one. This one looks great. It shows these categories or these expenses that are basically not being paid. The parents are providing it, so that's what's indicated. So that one looks great. Great job. And this is another one using, I guess, the same template. No, yeah, maybe. So this looks good. Let's see, where is rent? Maybe you can see it, but I don't see it. Well, there's a housing allowance. That's great, but it still doesn't. So that's income. Now I'm looking for the actual rent, and I'm not seeing rent. If it's there, I'm missing it. Housing and utility. I've got housing and utility, but I don't see it broken out. So that one, it looks great. There's lots of detail there. I'm just looking for rent, and I'm not seeing it. but otherwise I probably wouldn't deduct because it looks so good and it's got so much information, and obviously this student knows what they're doing. And my hope, my goal in this assignment was not to make you an expert at this at all, at budgeting and creating these reports. This was the first time we did this assignment. You're going to do it a couple more times with your spending plan. And what I'm looking for in the spending plan, similar to this zero-based budget, which was a basic first time shot at doing a budget, this assignment now is in the can, and moving forward, you're going to build on this, and you're going to give me three things, and I want to refresh your memory on what those three things are. First of all, I want to see the data. So you're going to be giving me the data from your tracking tool. You've each selected a tracking tool. The most popular tracking tool is mint.com. If you use debit card at your bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, wherever, and you use a debit card for most of your spending or all of your spending, that's great. You'll use your app from that bank, and that will track everything you put on your debit card. You'll then export that, and you'll include that in the assignment, and you'll give me the data. I want to see the data. I want to see everything you spent. I want you to see it as well. From there, you'll create a chart. The chart can be a pie chart, a graph chart, I don't care. Whatever's easy. But in that chart, it's going to show these categories, which is very helpful. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the different percentages in the categories. Not because I want to know what those percentages are, but I want you to know. So that leads us to the third component of this repeating assignment, which is your own insights about what you learned in tracking your spending. So I want to hear from you in those assignments about what you learned. Was there some surprise, like now that you're tracking how much you spend, were you surprised about how much you spent at Starbucks, or how much you spent at the bar, or on your girlfriend, or whatever? So hopefully these assignments will be fun and helpful. Most of you did a great job on this basic budget. If you got marked down, don't worry about it. It's not that many points. And probably you got marked down for something that could be very helpful in terms of a reminder and instruction for what's coming, because you're going to do this assignment, the spending plan. You're going to do that a couple of times, 3 times, and you want to make sure that you get those major pieces there. Otherwise, I'll mark you down again. So I hope this was helpful. This is week 3. We're going into week 3. Next week's assignment is a credit report. So we're given an assignment with instructions to go and get a free credit report. I don't need to see the report, but I'll talk about that in the next video. So I'm going to do that next video in the next hour or so and post it on YouTube and Facebook so you can check it out. It will help you just understand what I'm looking for as you do that assignment for your credit report. So this video was about credit card or budgets, and I appreciate all your work. I'll see you Tuesday, and I'll be back with another video very shortly.